Hello folks, today we're going to be solving absolute value equations. That's A26E in Algebra 2. If you want to go back and watch this video, just go to Big Time Math search engine in YouTube, Big Time Math, and then look up A26E, and you can watch this video over and over and over to remind yourself how to solve absolute value equations. You currently have a worksheet, and I'm going to go over 3 very specific problems. And once I go over these 3 problems, folks, you're going to be experts at solving absolute value equations. Now, the cool thing about solving absolute value equations, folks, is this. If you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, then you already can do absolute value equations because all you're doing is solving basic equations. But this time, instead of solving one equation, you're solving 2 equations. So let me explain. Here we go. First, let's look at question number 4, folks. So everybody go to question number 4, and I see that it says solve the absolute value of x minus 3 equals 5. Now, you've been taught that the absolute value of any number is positive, but when we're solving, it's a special case. So let me show you how to do this, yo. It's very, very simple. You need 2 equations. That's right, folks. I'm going to write that down. 2 equations. And so how do we get 2 equations out of this? Well, check this mug out. Are you ready? First, you just take what's inside, x minus 3, and then you make it equal to 5. Okay? There's your first equation. But you also have to do something crazy. Take what's inside, x minus 3, and then make it equal to the negative number of that outside number. So we have positive 5 here, but you also got to do a negative 5 because you got to remember the absolute value of negative 5 is 5 and the absolute value of 5 is 5. So in this case we're going to have 2 equations, and that's all you have to do in absolute value, folks. It's simply, I'm saying simply, come up with 2 equations. One's going to be equal to positive and one's going to equal to negative. From here on out, it's basic math. So I'm going to look over here at, let's call this equation number 1. I want x by itself, so I'm going to add 3 to one side and add 3 to the other. These 3's cancel out, and I get x equals 8. And guess what? Bam! There's one of your answers. Now, you got to solve the other equation on the other side. So I'm going to do x plus 3. What you do to one side, you do to the other. The 3's cancel out. I get x equals. Now, be careful here with your negative 5 plus 3, because it's not negative 8 and it's not 8. In this case, a negative 5 plus 3 is a negative 2. So am I done? Yes, sirree, Bob. And look, 2 equations gave me 2 answers. So the only thing that's different about absolute value is you have to make one equation equal to positive and one equation equal to negative. All right, so anytime you see this type of equation on this worksheet, just split it and solve it. Split it and solve it. Bam! That's what I think I'm going to call it. Let's split that mug and solve it. So let's go to a new type. Well, not necessarily a new type. You're still splitting and solving, except this one has a little bit more work. And you also see a fraction. And people go, wah, wah, they're totally scared of fractions, but don't be. First off, I'm looking at the absolute value. There's nothing on the outside. There's nothing underneath. Therefore, I'm going to split it and solve it. Split it and solve it. So what I'm going to do is take out what's inside of the absolute value, 4x plus 2 over 5, and make it equal to a positive 2. Then I come over here, we're splitting and solving it, and make it equal to what? That's right, a negative 2. I got a positive 2 and a negative 2. Now, all you have to do is solve both of those. So here we go. Let's see what we got. Now over here, I want to get x by itself, so am I going to get rid of the 4, the 2, or the 5? Well, you've got to get rid of the number that has an effect to the whole side. The 4 is only affecting the x. The 2 is only affecting the 4x. Therefore, the 5 is affecting the 4x and the 2. So we've got to get rid of the 5 in this case, because this whole side is being divided by 5. So the opposite of divide the whole side by 5 is multiplying. And again, and what you do to one side, you do to the other. So the 5's cancel out. Everybody see how that works? Then I'm left with 4x plus 2 equals 10. Now from here on out, folks, it's a basic 2-step equation, so it shouldn't be that hard. So I want x by itself, so I got to get rid of the 2. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And in this case, 10 minus 2 is 8. And you see how easy this is. We've got one more step. We're just going to divide by 4, and bam, my answer on this side is 2. All right. So we've solved one side, but we have to split it and solve it, so that means we have another side. So we're going to come over here. Same exact work. I see this whole side is being divided by 5, so multiply by 5. Multiply by 5, yo. The 5's cancel, so I get 4x plus 2 equals, now in this case, a negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So what's going to happen here? Well, I still got to, let's go ahead and split that. Subtract 2 from both sides. I get 4x equals, in this case, it's a negative 12. And I simply just divide both sides by 4. And my final answer on this side is negative 3. So you see how this works? Is you split it and solve it, split it and solve it. The only difference is one side's equal to positive 2, the other side's equal to negative 2. So you're going to end up getting 2 answers, okay? Sometimes you'll have one answer because if it's equal to 0, you can't have a negative 0, so that's pretty simple. And then sometimes you may have no solutions because if it's equal to, if the absolute value is equal to a negative number up here, you can't take the absolute value and get a negative number. But we'll talk about that later on. Right now we're just splitting and solving, splitting and solving. And as you notice, when I split, the absolute value signs go away, okay? One more question. Let's see the difference in here. So we're going to look at number 7 now. Now number 7's a little bit different because the only thing being divided by 5 here is the 4x. If you look at number 5, everything's being divided by 5. But in this question, only the 4x is being divided by 5. So that's going to play a part when we're solving. So since it's absolute value, we're going to split it and solve it. So I'm going to split it. Got 4x over 5. 4x over 5 minus 2 equals 6. And on this side, what do you think it's going to be? 4x over 5 minus 2 equals what? A negative 6. That is correct. All right, we're just going to split it and solve it. So let's see how we do here. Now, the only thing that's being divided by 5 is the 4x. And this is where people get mixed up. They want to multiply by 5. But you want to do the opposite of what's affecting the whole side. The 4x divided by 5 is both being subtracted by 2. So in this case, we've got to get rid of the 2 first. So we're going to add 2, and then these 2's cancel out. So I'll get 4 over 5, or 4x over 5 equals 8. Now I'm going to jump over to this side and show you that you're doing the exact same work on both equations. So over here, add 2, and so I am getting 4 over 5x equals, the 2's cancel. In this case, a negative 6 plus 2, is a negative 4. Now, let's go back to the other side. I've got 4x over 5. So in order to get rid of the 5, I'm going to multiply first. So the 5's cancel, and then multiply by 5, because what you do to one side, you do to the other. And so let's get rid of that. So I end up getting 4x, in this case, equals 40. And if you remember what you do to one side, you do to the other, I'm just going to go to the other equation. Multiply by 5, cancel, cancel. In this case, I get 4x equals a negative 20. All right, we're almost done here. Each equation has one more step. Divide by 4, and so the 4's cancel. X equals 10 here. And then I come over here to this mug, and I say, hey, what's going on? Divide by 4, and I end up getting x equals negative 5. All right, 2 equations, 2 answers. So if you notice, the only thing you have to do to solve an absolute value, is make it equal to a positive number, bam, and then take the opposite, which is a negative. Split it and solve it. Split it and quit it. You know what I'm saying? You split the equations and solve 2 equations. And all we're doing, like I said, is basic math. Adding, multiplying, dividing, folks. I'm telling you, you did this since 2nd grade, so this shouldn't be that hard. Over here, what am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm adding, multiplying, dividing. You're doing opposites every single time. So I think you can handle this. Remember, this video is on YouTube, so you can go back and check it out if you need to. Good luck on the rest of the equations. They're super easy, folks. Just work hard, and I know you can do it. All right? Peace out. This is Big Mac, BTM.